I've not been a fan of this man's. I don't like how he talks to us. I don't like how he talks to the nation. So I have not really had much to say until he started running for president. Then I could say everything I needed to say. My face said everything else.
Stephen Colbert recently aired a 2004 interview clip featuring Donald Trump, and the moment instantly changed the atmosphere inside the studio. The second viewers heard Trump's own words from years earlier, the irony became impossible to ignore. Long before entering politics, Trump sat for an interview where he confidently explained what he believed betraying America truly meant. According to Trump at the time, betrayal involved putting yourself above the Constitution, refusing to accept when the system tells you no, using power for personal advantage, and behaving as though laws and rules simply do not apply to you. Back then, the comments sounded like a standard answer from a businessman discussing patriotism, leadership, and American values. But 2 decades later, Colbert replayed that exact interview alongside the controversies and headlines that have followed Trump in recent years. Suddenly, the meaning felt entirely different. The audience quickly realized they were hearing Trump describe the very type of behavior critics now accuse him of displaying himself. That realization is what gave the segment such force. Colbert did not need exaggerated commentary or dramatic accusations because Trump's own definition became the centerpiece of the entire segment. The moment the old interview began playing, viewers could immediately connect the parallels for themselves. Trump spoke about respecting the Constitution, and audiences instantly thought about the endless legal disputes, election-related controversies, and repeated public attacks against institutions that ruled against him. He spoke about refusing to accept when the system says no, and suddenly memories of courtroom battles, rejected claims, and angry public reactions resurfaced all at once. He talked about acting as though the rules do not apply, and critics immediately connected those words to years of investigations, lawsuits, and accusations surrounding both his business dealings and political career. That was what made the moment feel so uncomfortable.
And to come after people because of their heritage, which they're born into. It is not a choice. You are who you are.
Right.
And here you're going to make all kind of fun. People said no more. We're tired of that. That's why people are saying right there, you heard the women say, listen, what we heard at that rally should be enough to shake folks awake, because he's talking about you.
The clip was no longer just an old interview. It sounded like a statement echoing forward through time. Colbert understood something important about political comedy and public perception. Sometimes the most effective criticism is not introducing new accusations at all. Sometimes the strongest move is simply replaying someone's own words and allowing time itself to expose the contradiction.
He brought up America being a garbage can.
Right. Yeah.
I assume that meant that those of us who live in America were garbage.
Yeah.
And I guess everybody's freaked out now because we're all in the can together.
That was exactly what happened during the segment. The old interview no longer felt like casual commentary from a businessman in 2004. It felt almost like a warning hidden in plain sight for 20 years. And the reason the room reportedly became so quiet was because nobody expected Trump's earlier definition of betrayal to align so closely with the controversies surrounding him today. For a brief moment, the comedy stopped feeling like comedy. It became uncomfortable, almost unsettling.
He's also asked about wanting Republicans to take over and nationalize voting. Yeah. Take a look.
You've recently suggested nationalizing elections. What do you mean by that?
And I didn't say national, I said there are some areas in our country that are extremely corrupt. They have very corrupt elections.
Will you trust the results of the midterms if Republicans lose control of Congress?
I will, but if the elections are honest. Look, I want the last one that wants to complain.
Even many Trump supporters watching likely noticed how strange the contrast appeared. The younger Trump in the interview sounded calm, polished, and conventional while discussing leadership and American principles. But when those same words were placed beside modern headlines and political disputes, it felt as though two completely different versions of the same man were speaking. Colbert leaned into that contrast carefully. He never had to directly label Trump a hypocrite because the audience was already arriving at that conclusion on its own. That is one reason the clip spread so rapidly online. Political attacks between rivals happen every day, but it becomes far more powerful when someone's own archived words return years later and begin working against them. What made the entire moment even more damaging for Trump was that the interview had not been deceptively edited or taken out of context. Trump genuinely said those things. He really did define betrayal using those exact ideas. The only thing that changed over time was the public debate over whether his own actions now fit the definition he once described. That is what gave the segment its emotional weight. Colbert was not inventing a new narrative or forcing a comparison. He was simply replaying history and allowing viewers to judge the contradiction for themselves. By the end of the segment, the silence inside the studio carried more impact than any joke or punchline could have delivered. Because once audiences heard Trump's old words placed beside the reality of current controversies, the contradiction became impossible to ignore.